See, Bohm, you thought you were the only one that can play air drums to any, at any high level. I thought that, I don't even know if that was there drums there? I don't even know if that was even called for.
There were definitely drums there.
Yeah, so that's why I was jamming out.
Yeah, that intro, that's heavy.
Yeah, you might
hard rock jam.
You might be the rock star, all right? But every now and then the mood hits me. You never know what you're going to get. All right, welcome in, kids. It is a Friday. It is the Chico Bormann Show here on the Big Play Network, also available on YouTube as our subscribers continue to climb, and God bless you people for that. Go to YouTube if you haven't subscribed already. Type in the Chico Bormann Show. Hit that subscribe button, and you're all set and ready to go. Of course, also on Twitter, where we are live right now. I'm looking at the, it's up there. It's live at Chico Show CLE. Speaking of which, we had a nice little contest these last week or so where you had to retweet the Chico Bormann Show and at Chico Show CLE. And then you also had to go over to YouTube and subscribe, which we've been telling you to do, and hopefully you have done. And but we were going to add a little something to the equation, and we did in the form of a Brian Sipe autographed jersey. That's right. Brian Sipe, you mean from the Cardiac Kids and the 1980 most valuable player, Chico? That Brian Sipe, kids. And the winner of the autographed Brian Sipe jersey is none other than Jeff Genko. I hope I'm saying that right. Or Genko or Genso at Front Desk Jeff on Twitter. He is the winner of the Brian Sipe jersey. Boom, don't laugh. It doesn't come with a pronunciation guide. Padone just sends it my way, and I repeat what I see and hear and all that good stuff.
Tough name pronunciations are great content, Chico.
Yeah, thank you.
Should do this more often.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it, because basically you're saying we like laughing at your expense, Chico. That's always fun. All right, so we are ready to go on this Friday. Made it to the weekend. It's going to be a fun weekend. The weather's going to be kind of so stay in. You got plenty of good sports on the tube. So great stuff going on. If you want to contact the show, you can certainly do that. 216-626-7901. Again, 216-626-7901. Coming up next hour, always have our guest in the 2 o'clock hour, straight up at 2. And it's going to be one of my longest standing guests. He is, what, do I pick a favorite? That's kind of like the, a parent picking a favorite kid. You don't want to, but EK is Erik Kuselias, currently with CBS Sports HQ. If you've listened to me for any length of time, you've heard him plenty of times. was once with ESPN. He would be the guy filling in for Mike Greenberg when it was Greeny and Golick. Did some other stuff for ESPN, did a fantasy football show, went on to the Golf Channel and had the morning show on the Golf Channel. Now he's at CBS Sports HQ, but he's one of my favorite guys. This guy is so much fun to talk to and debate, and he's well-versed in it all. I have, to this day, all right, I'm going to put, I won't do it with him on the show with me, but it's still, Bohm, I think you know what I'm about to say. Like, I was thinking about this. If someone gave me a 10-question quiz that said, like, I don't know, say, like, my cousin's kids, like, what are their names? I would miss 2 or 3. Erik Kuselias, who is a lawyer by trade, is a part of the Mensa Society. Boom, you were close to getting in there. I was never even considered. Erik Kuselias is a member of the Mensa Society, which means you're ridiculously smart. And he didn't have to take a test for the Mensa Society because on his LSAT, and that's for you lawyers out there, when you take that bar exam, he didn't miss a question. What? You didn't miss a question on the LSAT? I mean, I was freaking proud as could be when I didn't miss a question on the state capitals. When I made all my spelling bees, right, correct. This guy's flawless on the LSAT? That's unreal. But, yeah, he's great, and we're going to talk to him coming up at 2. A lot to cover with him. I mentioned a big weekend ahead. Obviously, we have the Final Four back at it again tomorrow. I'm kind of curious because we've enjoyed all of these upsets. We've enjoyed the fact that, hey, since they started seeding in 1979, no team number 3 or higher has never not made the Final Four. That's the case this year. Last week, first time, number 1, there is no number 1 in the Elite 8. So that went down. I mean, you had all kinds of crazy outcomes this year. And I think for the most part, like, we enjoyed it. Now, we talked about how and why this year was a bit wilder, a bit more wild than we've seen. And there's different theories that I think hold up. The idea that you had COVID and players were able to get an extra year. I think at the top of my list, it would be transfer portal. Now teams that, normally recruit well and bring in those great young talented guys also are able to dip into the portal and get an experienced guy who comes in, was probably a star on the team that he was at, and then goes to this team. He's more of a role player, but that's a pretty damn good role player to have with that kind of experience. So there's all sorts of it. But now we're down to it. We got FAU against San Diego State, followed by UConn and Miami. Now, UConn's won a few titles, but I think for the most part, people say, well, that's not a whole lot. The Kansases are gone, and UCLA or Gonzaga or Purdue out first weekend. So do you need more blue bloods in the Final Four? Because I've always gone with the notion that, yes, we love the upsets early on. We absolutely love it. It's a staple of March Madness. But by the time you get to Elite 8, certainly Final Four, you want to see a lot of chalk, or do you? Or is this a nice aberration? Is this an aberration, or is this going to be more kind of the norm as we move forward with the way college basketball is changing? So we'll get your thoughts, get your certainly your predictions. If you want to weigh in on who you think, UConn is the overwhelming favorite according to our friends at Tipico, and I get that. I am surprised though. 5.5 seems like not enough. And I don't mean disrespect because people know I love Jim Larinaga at Miami. But 5.5 seems low. I mean, it really does. Bohm, what do you think if you're done laughing over there and firing off jokes to all your buddies and stuff?
Chico, I think it's March Madness, and it's all a crapshoot, and you never know. But I'm expecting a good one.
That's deep analysis, Bohm. That's why we bring Bohm aboard. That's why we recruited him over here.
It's one of the most upset-riddled events in all of sports, right?
Yes.
I mean, we see more chaos. That's why people come back to March Madness every year. It's one of the craziest.
Well, that's okay. And you were busy, talking to your buddies there. But I guess, the upsets are fine early on. I love them. We all love them. I guess what I'm getting at is by the time you get to the Elite Eight, or in this case, the Final Four, beginning tomorrow night in Houston, do you want to see, are you still happy with those upsets, or do you want to see more chalk? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think ultimately it's kind of, you want to see a little bit of both, because I feel like in the Final Four, you want at least one powerhouse. I like the idea of a David versus Goliath. Yeah. And the Goliath going down.
But you won't. But
you run out of Goliaths.
Yeah, but and here's the thing: I have no if the underdogs or the quote unquote Cinderellas are going to make it that far, if they lose, that's fine. But you don't want to. The reason why people say you want the blue bloods against the blue bloods, because more often than not, I'm not saying every game is like this, but you're not going to get a whole lot of lopsided affairs. What you don't want, and I mean the networks feel this way, the teams feel this way, the fans feel this way, everybody feels this way. You don't want to see that Cinderella get to the Final Four and then get blasted by 35. Because A, it's just not that entertaining, and B, well, it kind of takes all the fun out of it. You know what I mean?
It's anticlimactic.
Yeah, very.
I mean, it's just disappointing when there's so much hype going into it, and then for a Cinderella team to get this far into the tourney, you really expect them to put up a real fight against some of these teams in the Final Four.
Yeah. So if you want to chime in on that, we're going to be getting much more into it coming up next hour. I want to begin, though, with Major League Baseball opening day / night. The Guardians fall 3-0. We're going to get to the meltdown late in the game and a missed call, bad missed call. It should have been reviewable call. Which is still unfathomable to me that you do all these sports now, not just baseball. Every sport goes to these great lengths to improve their game, whether it's pace of play, whether it's getting the calls right, whether it's review calls. I mean, so many different aspects of it. And then you clearly have a call last night where Crawford, without a doubt, foul tipped that in and out of the mitt of Mike Zunino of the Guardians, and should have continued the at bat, but because the umpire's like, no, he didn't tip it. It's that's a ball. It totally changed, and James Karinchak melted down. But before I get to the Guardians, let me just say this: I thought yesterday, I watched a lot of baseball yesterday, and into the night. I thought yesterday had to be a big win for Major League Baseball. I think people who know me know that I'm not a huge Rob Manfred fan. I don't look at Rob Manfred and think, wow, what a great commissioner. But make no mistake, the bigger bases, the pitch clock, all that he's trying to implement right now, this is going to be his legacy. Like, this is not something that, oh, wow, this is going to be remembered as a very pivotal moment in the game of baseball. Baseball was becoming very irrelevant to a lot of people. Now, look, if you hate the game of baseball, do I think that you tuned in last night or yesterday at any point going, oh, my gosh, I got to see this. They have bigger bases. No. But what baseball was losing, and this is really the most important point. And again, 216-626-7901 if you want to chime in. Baseball was losing not necessarily the hardcore fans. They were losing I could go either way. They have the game on, and then, wow, this thing's dragging out, and, another pitching change, and, I'm going to turn the channel, and then, I forgot to turn back because I found something better to watch. And, what did happen in that game? Baseball is trying to, and I think they've had one hell of a start. As much as I have not complimented Rob Manfred for many things, so far, so very good. Now, understand that there are going to be things, there's going to be glitches. Okay, I don't care. There's nothing, no sport, rule changes, whatever. You're not gonna just start this all of a sudden and have no glitches at all. Have everything go as planned and we're good. And you're gonna have glitches, and there's a few things which we're gonna get to that they need to really look at in a big way, which I think they will. But I think all in all, like pace of play, games last night were like 2.5 hours long. I mean, even the long games weren't that long, but a half hour has been chopped off. And yeah, like I said, it's going to take some getting used to from the players, pitchers, hitters. I mean, they had the ramp up of of spring training and whatnot. It's going to take a little bit longer, and there's always that question as we get further into the season, will they become more lackadaisical? I'm talking about the umpires in enforcing a lot of this stuff. Well, only time will tell in that situation. But I mean, there was like 21, 22, something like stolen bases yesterday for opening day. Folks, that had not been done. That many stolen bases on opening day since 1907. 1907. Like, that's crazy. But that's the drastic change that has been made to the game. Is it a good change? I think it is. I mean, I really do. Now, there's some things that, we can talk about and we should talk about. For instance, there was a moment, and I'm hoping this is something that's being addressed, like as we're on the air right now, Rob Manfred and his cohorts have either had this discussion or will be having this discussion. So in the Mets-Marlins game, Jeff McNeil, I believe, is at the plate. He hits a foul ball. Pete Alonso, slugging first baseman's running, going down from first and second. He was running on the play. It's fouled off, so he has to come back, right? Well, Pete Alonso, I wouldn't say he was really slow getting back, but, those guys, a lot of times they go, and then it's a foul ball. They're kind of tired a little bit. And they didn't even really wait for Pete Alonso to get back. They started the clock, and Jeff McNeil wasn't even ready because Pete Alonso wasn't ready because he was still, gathering himself and getting back on first base. Jeff McNeil got a strike called on him. That's ridiculous. So there's got to be some discretion. Shane Bieber talked about it after the game, and Shane Bieber pitched very, very well for the Guardians last night. It became a bullpen game, and unfortunately, James Karinchak melted down because of, really, I think it was all because of pitch clock and a bad call that certainly had nothing to do with the pitch clock, but should have been reviewed, and then he just lost it. And I've said this before about James Karinchak. We said it yesterday. I think we had a call. Like, who – and when I say long leash, I don't mean like, oh, well, he loses his spot. This guy, James Karinchak, is exceptionally talented, okay? But when he starts to go downhill, when he starts to get a little – and you notice the antics on the mound, right? He's got the ball flip from his glove to his hand, to his glove, to his hand. He's, doing this with his glove. And, well, that's taking time. Now, he assured members of the front office and Tito Francona, hey, I worked on this in the offseason. I'm going to be okay. I know what I've got to do. Then the moment hits and a bad call doesn't go your way, then the crowd played a huge part in this. Seattle has incredible fans. I mean, if you go in the NFL, I believe when the Seahawks play at home, they have the most false starts called on the opposing offense of anybody in the league. And that is a 100% a reflection on the fans. So they see Karinchak kind of melting down a little bit. They see Karinchak, and then they start counting, right? This is what they do. It's like when you're on the road in playing basketball and the shot clock actually has 8 seconds on it, but no, 4, 3, and you start to panic. Well, they're starting to count down 3, 2, 1, and Karinchak's just losing it. He's losing it. Again, he had a bad call, but it all unraveled, and he couldn't find the plate, and then he grooves the fastball. Not even grooved it, but it was up in the zone, as everything was up in the zone. A little bit outside. Ty France says, see you later, the other way, and that's the ball game. It was a great ball game up until that point. And we knew coming in, and this is something that you're going to see much more of, not only tonight, but there's tonight and 2 more games after tonight in this series. Seattle's a great team, and one of Seattle's strengths, just like Cleveland, is its bullpen. Seattle's bullpen last night, I mean, Matt Brash was ridiculous. Paul Sewell, you had Andres Munoz, who might be the most dangerous of all. Guardians were able to get 2 hits off of him, but that's, it came down to a bullpen game. And unfortunately for the Indians and their bullpen, James Karinchak, the new rules got to him. Let's just say it ruffled a few feathers. When he runs hot, he runs hot. And it's so interesting for me watching the Guardians because you have so many guys that are the exact opposite. And this, it's a beautiful game, right? Like they're human beings. They're not robots, although we might be getting robot umpires. And believe me, a robot umpire would have been able to tell that was a foul tip. But anyway, guys have different personalities. Shane Bieber, you can't tell whether he's up by 8 or down by 8. Corey Kluber, we always said that about. I think a lot of these guys in the road, Cal Quantrill, Aaron Savali, it's just, I think it's almost like a personality trait. I'm not going to say it's a do or die situation for the Guardians when they're drafting somebody or going for somebody, but a pitcher per se. But I do think it's something that if there's a tie and there's that more stoic guy, they're probably going to go with him. I think it is something they seek out. Now, Karinchak, he's got too many, and I think as he gets more nervous, they're like nervous ticks. And he's, the ball's flipping up and down. Well, the clock's, you don't have that much time to be doing that kind of thing. So you got to make sure. Shane Bieber, by the way, said last night, another thing that they have to change. Foul ball, again, a foul ball goes, let's say, foul ball down the right field line and goes out of play. Well, Shane Bieber, as soon as the ball, like any pitcher, as soon as the ball is hit to the right side, fair or foul, their immediate move is towards first base. Like, I'm going to have to cover first base. So, I mean, it's just whether it's 15 rows up or just foul, he's heading towards first base. And he noticed that when he got back to the mound, like, he was already at, like, I think he said, 10 seconds. And it's 15 with nobody on base and 20 with a guy on base. And he's like, wait a minute. So that's a discretion thing. And that's where, you just got to be clear. These guys have to be clear in the booth that if a guy, if there's a foul ball, just common sense. You've got to let the guy get back to the base. You got to let the pitcher. Now, if he's taking his dear sweet time and, dare I say, lollygagging around, then, yeah, okay, you say something or you do immediately give him a ball. But Bieber's not the type of guy that just kind of, mopes around and does. He likes to move quickly, but even he admitted, like, there's a few times there where you're kind of gassed. So they are going to have to tinker with this a little bit. But I thought, all in all, and I'd love to hear from you on this, again, 216-626-7901 and on Twitter at Chico Show CLE. Also YouTube, you can chime in there if you follow the show, and you can do so by typing in the Chico Bormann Show and hit subscribe. Want to hear from you on this. I thought it was a huge success. Now, I know sour taste in Guardians fans' mouths. Yeah, it stunk. And not so much because, well, yeah, it was in part because Karinchak melted down. But it was really about that reviewable call. Like, why, how the hell do you not have the ability to review that call? Like, you're trying every last thing possible to make the game better. And to me, that just comes down to, well, it's an ego thing. The umpire says he didn't hear. I mean, look at Crawford. If that's a ball, Crawford's all the way down to first. He's not even thinking about it. He was just standing there. He's like, well, what's everybody looking at? Oh, you fouled. Oh, I didn't foul it off? Oh, well, okay. Everybody knew it. And then his friends, this used to be more so back in the day in Major League Baseball, where like the umpires, they were the old boys network. So like if Smokin' Joe West didn't want to be shown up or he made a bad call, well, the young guy in the crew wasn't going to show him up, even though he knew that it was a bad call and, hey, this is what I saw. And you didn't see that. I don't know what those guys were doing when that play happened, but they certainly weren't paying attention. But the worst part of it is, okay, you missed it. Let's review it, because clearly, he's back in there, and we're doing this again instead of him going to first base. But, it is what it is. Guardians, it wasn't the only reason they lost. They only mustered 4 hits. There's 161 more games to go. So I think, when we start breaking this thing down, I think everything is going to be okay. But in my mind, watching day one, opening day, and the new rules, I say very, very big win for Major League Baseball. All right, let's go to the phones, and I really love these messages from the auto system for the phone. Like, really, it's becoming like an extra part of the gig that I wasn't expecting. Like, we get calls, but because it's an automated system, people are talking into it, and Siri or Alexa or whoever the hell is manning the phones, they just say, please leave your name and what you would like to talk about. And then they're the ones translating what you want to talk about, and I don't think we've had one yet that it was dead on, but that's okay.
It's a hoot, Chico.
It's a hoot?
It's a hoot.
That's from Boston Legal. Do you ever watch Boston Legal?
With William Shatner?
Yes.
No, I have not.
Why
Law and Order guy.
Why did you say with William Shatner? Like, oh yeah, with William Shatner?
Because I know.
Yeah,
of
William
it.
Shatner. No, I haven't.
I know of it. I am familiar.
Damn it, boom. All right, let's go to the phones again. 216-626-7901. Your thoughts on last night's Game 1 for the Guardians against the Mariners, and Major League Baseball, big success, failure, day one, rule changes. What do you think? All right, let's hear from Jeff, who's next up on the Chico Bormann Show. Hello, Jeff.
Hello, Chico.
How you doing, bud?
Good. How's it going?
Fantastic, buddy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just calling because I guess I won the Brian Syke jersey.
Now, see, this is interesting. Now, see, this is exactly what I'm talking about. The monitor says, "Hey, this is Jeff Collins. I just got a text that I won, and the name I got is Jeff Genko. How do you say your last name?"
Collins. Jenko is my alter ego, so I don't get in any trouble with my tweets at work.
Your alter ego, so you don't get in trouble at work.
Yes.
Well, it says now, is that the at front desk Jeff? So like you're kind of out in front of everybody. Is that what this is all about? So you got to be very, very careful about it?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Gotta protect the public persona.
Okay. Well, Jeff, I don't know if you wanted to check. You absolutely won that Brian Sipe autographed jersey. So
Awesome.
did you just want to? Is this a call just to confirm that, or did you want to talk?
Yeah. It told me to call, so I did. But I don't know what you guys were talking about, so I can't really comment.
All right.
I know these new rules with baseball in general. I do not like them. I'm a traditionalist. Well, they're doing the same thing in football. They're doing a lot just to change these sports that. I don't think it's broken, so don't try and fix it.
See, baseball. I think
can be.
Go ahead.
Baseball can be a long. The games can be long and somewhat boring. So I do kind of understand what they're trying to do. Kind of adapt to the younger generation.
Give me one.
Understand why.
Give me one of the changes that you just don't like, Jeff. Like you absolutely are disgusted with.
Just the timing, like the time that the pitcher has to throw the ball is just so unorganic and unnatural. Like it is idiotic. It just seems so stupid.
Okay.
It's just a pure game, and that's about the most impure thing that you could do to the game of baseball. I think it's going to look ridiculous once we get into the playoffs.
Well, okay, now that's another discussion. Jeff, thank you for the call. And yes, you did win the Brian Sipe autographed jersey. Did Nick, did he really give him this number to confirm? Isn't there a business line? Call McAllister's cell phone. I mean, what the hell was that? Yeah. Welcome to the Chico Bormann Show. Yeah, I just wanted to confirm my prize. Well, let me check with the receptionist here, and I'll get right back to you. No, it's all right, Jeff. Congratulations to you. See, I would say, Bohm, you know me, and I would say that I am a quote-unquote traditionalist, right? And I'm certainly somebody that doesn't like a lot of change, whether it's my cell phone, whether it's my Twitter account, a change. Oh, no. But especially like in sports and definitely with my favorite sport being baseball. But there's a couple things that I don't like. And like I said, they're going to have to tinker with the whole McNeil and Pete Alonso thing. Like, yeah, Pete Alonso, you can't give a strike to Jeff McNeil because Pete Alonso just ran down to second base after a foul ball, heard it was a foul ball, now has to come back. And I mean, yes, he needs to do it in a faster pace, but he's not going to go sprinting back there and dive into first base on the way back in just to save a strike for Jeff McNeil. But I'm surprised. I can't really, in watching the games, and like I said, I watched a lot, and if you didn't watch a lot, that's fine. But like in watching the games yesterday and last night, it's a quicker pace and action. There's not a lot of that, just kind of standing around waiting for something to happen. I don't know how that's not a good thing.
Chico, honestly, I was excited to come in and talk about it today. I was pleasantly surprised myself with how well everything flowed with the pitch clock. Now, we did see some of the downsides of it, especially with the Guardians case with Karinchak, how much it rattled him. It just felt like it caused everything to snowball so much more easily when he didn't have a second to gather himself.
Yeah. And he's the one guy that if you were to say, who are you most concerned about on the Guardians that would possibly have that happen to, where they'd have a meltdown and they'd feel rushed, it was Karinchak. And that unfortunately happened right out of the gate.
And you called it yesterday, too. And I think that it just, at the same time, to me, I know that we just had a caller call in and say that it felt inorganic, but to me, it flowed really smoothly.
Yeah.
And you talked earlier in the show about how it's like you change the channel during a commercial and then you forget to go back if you find something else compelling. But this Now it really felt like you had a reason to look down because everything was moving so swimmingly.
Swimmingly. You had a big grin on your face when you said that, Bohm. Were you waiting to use the word swimmingly? Did you have a little bet with your friends? Because I've done that before too, where guys will say, hey man, try to work this, this word, this random word into the show today. Did somebody, when you left the house or in those text messages you're getting now, did someone ask you, Bohm, could you randomly throw in the word swimmingly in today's Chico Bormann show?
It's just one of my buzzwords. Now, you had one of my buzzwords earlier today, too. You said lollygagging. I love lollygagging.
Lollygagging. And that's kind of what we're trying to avoid in Major League Baseball is the lollygagging. We don't want lollygagging. And here's another one that I'm gonna tinker with, or I need to tinker with. And again, 216-626-7901, Chico Bormann Show. Find us on Twitter at Chico Show CLE, on YouTube, the Chico Bormann Show, and go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I don't like the idea. Somebody, I'm sure many of you saw this yesterday. So, runner on first base, and Karinchak throws over once, throws over a second time. If he throws over a third time, it's an automatic balk. Which, that to me, now again, could a pitcher completely slow down the game by just, soft tossing it over? I mean, you're trying to pick a guy off. A lot of times, too, you just want to let him know, hey, bud, haven't forgotten about you. Well, I think Major League Baseball and Rob Manfred feels like, yeah, well, you wanting to let that runner on first or second or third or wherever know that you haven't forgotten about him, unfortunately, are the fans forgetting about us. Because, again, when that happens a lot, those are some of the complaints that I would get, just, as a baseball fan and from somebody who was just a kind of, average fan at best, would be like, they keep throwing over, and then they're stepping out, and then a new baseball, and then the catcher has to, and they've, some of those they implemented long before this year, where like you can only have so many mound visits, so guys aren't coming out there, and But you saw Tito. I thought it was interesting. Bieber took a shot off the back of his foot. He was totally fine, and Bieber was actually waving Terry Francona like back to the dugout, like I'm okay, and you could see, and it was a great move by Terry. He goes out to the mound. Now, of course, he makes Bieber laugh because I'm sure Terry had something funny to say, but he knew what he was doing. He's like, look, dude, you're going at a fever pace here. I want to, I want to just slow you down a little bit. Like, you move quickly and you want to move quickly, but just gather yourself. So if I have to stand out here for 10 seconds and pretend to be worried about your foot that you say is fine, I'm going to do that if for no other reason you're going to get your win. So you'll see a lot of that.
Now, Chico, let me ask you this, because you pointed out some of the issues that you saw with Bieber and with that Jeff McNeil, Pete Alonso instance. How quickly do you think that the MLB might address that? Like, could we see that happen by today? Because it is something that clearly needs to be handled. Like, pitchers should be able to step back on the mound before that clock starts ticking again when a ball is out of play.
Yeah, okay, is it feasible for... I mean, the message can get to that crew right after the game. That they may just be going with, hey, that's exactly what I'm just following what the rules are now, the new rules are, so don't blame me, blame the commissioner. But here's the thing. It's not even necessarily the official or the umpire. It's the idea that whoever is starting and stopping the clock, again, you go like a clock operator at a basketball game, right? Well, a little slow starting that clock on the inbounds play, So I don't know. Maybe it wasn't done deliberately. Maybe it was little, home field advantage. But you can't be starting the clock with Pete Alonso halfway back from second to first and all of a sudden Jeff McNeil goes to stand in and he's got 3 seconds and he's not engaged, period. That's what it is. He's not engaged, period, which he has to be. That's an interesting part of the rule too. Like, to get engaged, do you wink at the pitcher? Do you give him, do you blow him a kiss?
Got to flash your bat at him.
Do you say,
check swing,
bring it, big boy? I don't know. But, yeah, and those things should be – now, like, if you're the NFL, this is where Rob Manfred in baseball has another opportunity because, again, I think yesterday was a success, and I think this will continue to be a success. Am I very intrigued to see what happens later in the year? Certainly what happens in a big playoff game. Oh, yeah, because it's the same thing that you'll get in an NFL playoff game. You know, well, I didn't think that was pass interference. Why would they call it obviously the foul call in the Creighton game? Oh my gosh, man, you got to call that. You can't just swallow your whistle because of the moment. Well, is that going to happen in baseball too? Yeah, I saw that the clock hit 0, but come on, man. This is the NLCS. I'm not going to call that. Are they going to be that gung-ho about it? But I think this is an opportunity for Major League Baseball to continue to look good in this situation. Yes, it should be implemented right away because this should simply be nothing more than, hey, Mr. Clock Operator, you've got to be more in tune and you've got to know what you're doing as far as, foul ball goes that way, and you see Bieber, going towards first base. You got to give him a little bit of time. And just use discretion. Just use common sense. And same with the Alonzo McNeil thing. So now if it's the NFL, they would say, well, we're going to table that. We're going to look at that next year with our part-time officials. That's what they would say. Boom, that was a little popping sound in the ear there. Everything good? You all right?
Got a visitor.
Do we? Is he early?
Really early.
Wow. EK's very, very excited to join. Now, EK's not scheduled until 2. He is he's a busy guy, I know. Hopefully we'll be, let me see if there's been any messages here.
Just hyping himself up.
He wants to look good. He's a guy that, he's got good hair, unlike some people here. He's a TV guy, and he's a handsome dude. I mean, the ladies, they want to see EK. So maybe he's just getting in. I'm getting a text from him right now. This just getting ready, he says. See, that's what I love. I mean, how many guests do that? Like, it's a 2:00 interview. This is why EK's my guy. It's a 2:00 interview. Now, I get it. Some people are busy. Hey, I just tuned in at, got ready to go, hit the link at 1:58. EK would be the one guy. You want to know how you go perfect on an LSAT test? Boom. You come ultra prepared. Some people study a week or two before. EK is studying for that LSAT months before. That's how you get into the Mensa Society. I don't know about the hair thing, but yeah, the Mensa Society, that's how you do it. All right, so I think all in all, Major League Baseball, big win yesterday. I mentioned the stolen bases. That's a win. You've got people, the people that did not like the way Major League Baseball was going. You heard, well, they're sitting there. It's early, or they're waiting for the 3-run home run. And now you have guys that, if they are base stealers, they're going to steal more bases. Now, if they're, a guy that maybe wouldn't normally go, well, hey, you know what? He's not going to throw over here. I've timed him up pretty well. He's he's a bit, and I don't know if this is good or bad. And I think this is why we need to have this discussion. He's a little, like James Karinchak last night, he's a little distracted by the pitch clock. Now he's, running a little hot here, trying to figure out, he needs to get in his rhythm. Well, if I'm a base runner, I mean, hey, I want to take advantage of that situation. I'm going to go. The bases being so much bigger, like, It's kind of like in Seinfeld when you get the big salad. Remember that, Bohm? Elaine gets the big salad, and they say, well, are the tomatoes? Yeah, the tomatoes are the size of volleyballs. Is it that drastic? It didn't seem that drastic. But to the players, they could be looking at those bases as, tomatoes to volleyballs as far as the big salad. The big salad. All right. So we're going to take a timeout right now because when we come back, I want to make sure that EK is all settled in and ready to go. And then we're going to get into a little Final Four. We did so at the top of the show. We'll do that with EK. Another thing I want to get his thoughts on, the NFL and this whole, Lamar Jackson situation. I love Lamar Jackson. I'd love to see him get paid. I can't believe any team. It's not that they don't want him, but they don't want him for what he wants, that guaranteed money. And is Lamar Jackson doing himself a disservice, or is he helping himself with the media post? We'll talk about that with EK coming up at the top of the hour. But we'll step aside right now. You want to chime in? 216-626-7901. That's 216-626-7901. It is the Chico Bormann Show here on the Big Play Network. Back live with the Chico Bormann Show here on the Big Play Network, and we are hanging with you until 3. Real quick before we get back into baseball, there was obviously, now for people that don't know, we've talked about it a few times, but the studios here at Big Play, very, very nice studios here at Burke Lakefront Airport, and we had a gathering before. I was a little concerned because I didn't know if they were going to be out there when the show started at 1 o'clock, but they were very happy and go lucky and, very talkative and very loud. And apparently it was a group going on a private plane to Atlantic City, which if I was on waiting to get on a private plane to Atlantic City, I'd be kind of, jolly and having a good time. But yeah, so those folks just took off. Safe travels. Maybe they're listening or watching the Chico Bormann Show in flight. Do they offer that on those airlines? I don't know. Erik Kuselias, CBS Sports HQ, going to join us top of the hour. One more thing, and this is the time of year, of course, with the NBA, MVP. Who is it? Is it Joel Embiid? Is it Giannis? Is it Jokic? And Embiid didn't play last time, and so everybody to the point where we've seen Kendrick Perkins and J.J. Redick, more so Kendrick Perkins, just lose their minds over this. And so, it's always a debate in every sport. Boom, it's always a debate in every sport where, okay, hey, this guy may have had the best season, but his team, fourth, fifth place, not even in playoff contention, never was in playoff contention, but he put up unbelievable numbers. So do we give it to him, or does it have to be, there's everybody has their own criteria, right? So I think in baseball, even though I'm fine with Aaron Judge winning the MVP last year, obviously, incredible numbers. What is he going to hit? 80 this year. I already hit one on opening day, second pitch he saw. But realistically, I don't see if Shohei Ohtani, and again, this is not about being a Yankee hater or anything like that, but how could you not vote for Shohei Ohtani, being that he steps on the mound and throws 101. He gets in a jam in the fifth inning last night. Now, of course, they're in Oakland. Nobody sees him. And the Angels lose the game. But Shohei Ohtani drives in a run, but he pitched well. I think he struck out 10, but gets out of a jam in the fifth. 3 pitches he throws, 100, 100, 101. And this is a guy that can hit 35 to 40 home runs, drive in 100, and steal 25 to 30 bases. At the major league level, this is not Little League. In Little League, I play shortstop, and then, I pitch, and I'm batting 500, and my ERA is, 0.68, because I'm the stud shortstop on my Little League team / pitch. This is the Major League Baseball, Boom.
This is the closest thing that we will probably ever see to Babe Ruth. What he's doing is unprecedented.
Yeah.
And it's just not something that you expect from the modern ball player today. And so I think it is something to marvel at. Now, what Aaron Judge is doing, considering he's doing all of it without steroids, is phenomenal in itself. He's kind of a freak of nature. But I think with Shohei, it's interesting because just the fact that how amazing it is what he's actually doing might kind of inflate the perception of it all. The feat itself is incredible, that he can throw over 100 and give himself his own run support. It's phenomenal, and he's so good at both of them. But I think Aaron Judge was so dominant in a lot of ways as a hitter that I understand where MLB's decision was coming from to give it to him last season.
Well, it's the writers. And I guess to take this a step further with the voting process, and again, we can look at it with the NBA and the NBA vote. Is it going to be Giannis? Is it going to be Jokic? Is it going to be Joel Embiid? And I'm not saying, neither one of those guys is deserving. You can have any one. But I wonder sometimes, are we looking for the best story? 2 years ago, what Shohei Ohtani was doing was absolutely front and center, as it should have been. It should still be front and center, but, that's old news. Now, again, it's not fair to Aaron Judge because he had a ridiculous year, and I've got no problem with him getting the MVP. But this year, if Shohei Ohtani pretty much has this quote-unquote normal season, let's say he wins 15 games. Let's say he's got an ERA around 3. Let's say he struck out 180 batters, and let's say he batted, 260, but he hit 38 bombs, drove in 111, and stole 27 bases. What? I want to see who's going to win the MVP over Shohei Ohtani. And maybe it's Aaron Judge because, hey, you thought last year was great. Wait till this year. But it better be something like that because I don't think it's fair, and I think it's just human nature that we get, we want the new thing. We want the new story. And I think with Shohei, it's oh yeah, that's cool. And I remember having a guy, Bohm, I think you may have been with me at the station when I had a guy driving up Route 23 in Ohio from Delaware, and he's driving up and he calls and we're talking about MVP. And he mentioned Shohei and he's kind of yeah. Yeah, he's good, Chico, but I'm like, Dave, I still remember Dave from Delaware. I'm like, Dave, what do you mean he's just good? Like, explain it. I mean, he's good, but he's nothing like earth-shattering. I'm like, oh, he's every bit earth-shattering. Like 9.8 earth-shattering on that Richter scale. He's that earth-shattering. But and some of it is he's in LA, so some people don't see the games on the West Coast. Or they're staying up. Like last night, he played against the Oakland A's, as we said. Nobody's looking at the MLB docket and going, well, I definitely want to see that Oakland team tonight. They're just not.
Do you think the World Baseball Classic may have done anything to help the perception of him across the league or like baseball fans?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because he delivered in one of the biggest spots. You know, I mean, obviously it's an exhibition game, but he striking out his teammate on a huge stage in clutch moment to seal the deal for his country. I think that was a really cool thing to witness.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, that was storybook, right? The day of, a lot of times we have it in our heads. Let's have it play out this way. Let's have, can you imagine if Shohei Ohtani, I remember listening to John Smoltz the day of in an interview, and he's like, the thought of having Shohei Ohtani late in a game against Mike Trout, and then wouldn't you know it, that's exactly how it played out. Sometimes you don't get those. When you do, it's very special. To your point, though, hell yeah, that was, more exposure for him. Major League Baseball gets the big win. I think Major League Baseball right now has got to be feeling pretty good. And it's been a while since Rob Manfred probably felt pretty good. He's getting ripped on by people like me and others throughout baseball about all these different, crazy ideas. But now, like, hey, I think these games, it looked good. They need to tweak a few things, but I have no complaints. Matter of fact, I loved it. So you got that on the heels of the World Baseball Classic. Right now, baseball is, people are talking about it. And I think instead of, and this is my big thing, as I told you earlier, you're the average baseball fan watching on TV, and it's, throw over, throw to home, throw back over again, step off, throw back. And guy's like, you know what, this is boring. I'm going to flip, and then forgets. Like, oh, well, I was watching that game. I didn't go back to it. Wow, it sounds like it was a crazy ending. Now, I don't think as many people are going to do that, and now you're going to get people talking about the great finishes and just talking about how more exciting the game was. All right, I'll tell you what, Bohm, let's do it. I can't hold out any longer. The anticipation right now is killing me. Erik Kuselias, as I've said earlier, I've said many times over the years, look at him with the thumbs. Oh, man. Erik Kuselias, CBS Sports HQ. You've seen him on all sorts of platforms, ESPN, Golf Channel. Now, as I said, with CBS Sports, also a great fantasy guy. Boom, are we good? You got? Well, we got him. There we go. Now, you've been waiting a while, like as our green room people, because we have people that in the green room that make sure that you're getting fanned and soft drinks and everything's good.
Oh yeah, they take great care of me. I got the fanning, the soft drinks, little fainting couch over to the side, a few grapes. I'm feeling good in the neighborhood. I just want to make sure that this new gig, which is going so well, and they're so lucky to have you, that it's becoming of you. You know what I mean? And it is. And I wanted to check it out early. I mean, the studio looks amazing.
Doesn't it?
That is oh my God, that looks good.
Yeah, they
did.
Mean,
and now you're at a private airport. I mean, you're going bougie on me. I mean, that's what it is. Let's be very clear about it. You're moving up. You're getting bougie on me. You're doing shows at private airports. They're building studios for you. I mean, it's all well-deserved, but I just wanted to make sure that I was worthy.
Well, what I'm hoping for is like on one of these trips, somebody's going to be, because you have homes all over North America.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Connecticut. If YMC reservations are homes, then yeah, I do.
So, one of these times I'm going to walk out of the studio and say, hey, just by chance, are you folks heading to Connecticut? Are you folks heading to Florida? And I'm just going to jump aboard, and then I get to hang out at the EK estate for
Come on over. You know you're invited. When I make lasagnas, we play wiffle ball. I got a pool. We hang out. I mean, I'm essentially like a 16-year-old boy got put in an old man's body and won the lottery. That's what I do all day.
But
so we have big screen TVs. There's no women allowed. We just hang out and chill. It's all the fellas. We watch movies all night. We keep eating and swimming. It's great.
But the wiffle ball, it can't have the one with all the holes in it.
No.
Or no holes.
No,
it's got to be just the side. The Scott McGregor endorsed wiffle ball. It's got to be that.
The wiffle ball factory is about 15 minutes from my house. That's where every wiffle ball is made, in Connecticut, in Shelton, Connecticut. So I have every kind of wiffle ball since they started making them. So you choose the wiffle ball you want.
Okay.
We usually do play with full-on regulation Easton like metal bats though, and it's fast pitch. So you better bring your swing and better be ready.
Okay, sounds good. Erik Kuselias, CBS Sports HQ. I can't tell you how. First day was pretty damn cool, just because you're back in it and excited to talk sports with these great people. But when I get somebody like this guy who's been with me from days in good old Erie, Pennsylvania, it just makes it that much more special. So, EK, you heard me ranting and raving and talking about Major League Baseball opening day / night. I thought it was a big win, and I know Rob Manfred's taken a lot of heat. I thought it was a big win. I enjoyed it. I think the pace of play. Your thoughts on the new rules, etc.
Love it, absolutely love it. Look, they had a tough thing with the shift because here's what it was. Logically, you should be able to shift. You're not breaking any rules. You should be able to do what you want. There's only one problem. It's not good for the consumer, right? So they actually did the right thing, and they said, look, even though technically you should be allowed to do it, we're going to put the viewing experience and the consumer first because it was a bad watch. Baseball has become a bad watch. 40% of all at-bats were strikeouts, walks, or home runs. It's terrible. It's hard to watch that, right? I grew up as a baseball guy. I was a baseball player. I was a college baseball player. This is my first sport. It became hard to watch. So they have to make it more watchable. Bigger bases, less downtime. I mean, they're taking 26 minutes off spring training games.
Huge.
And that's not 26 minutes of action. That's 26 minutes of dead air. If you and I just stop talking for 12 seconds, it will seem like an eternity. Now take 26 minutes of that out and think about now how much more watchable it is. It's quicker, it's getting to it, it's more action, it's less downtime, less pitching changes, less strikeouts, walkout, and walks. Let's get to it. Great decisions by baseball.
So next they're saying much sooner rather than later, robots instead of umpires. Can you go that far with it?
No.
Okay.
I mean,
good.
if they do, they do. But I'm not clamoring for it, right? I'm okay if the robots are perfect. But here's the thing: how are you going to make sure it's not like guys move, guys do this? You know what I mean? They should start here. They bend their knees. Like I'm not sure that the Terminator robot can be as perfect as they think it is. I think you need a human eye there. So I think it'll be better with the umps. But I mean, look, whatever they do, that's not going to be one where I'm going to die on that hill fighting against robots.
Shohei Ohtani, you heard me going on and on about him. And EK, you just said you followed baseball your entire life. You love the game. I love the game. There is no one like this guy. And like I said, Aaron Judge last year, okay, fine. But do you think that some are already getting bored with like, oh, yeah, Shohei struck out 10 and hit a 2-run bomb last night? Like, is that becoming like not a big deal for some?
Yeah, it is, because there's a couple of things. One, the team stinks.
Yes.
Right? So it becomes but what you're doing doesn't matter. Right? What you're doing is great, but it doesn't matter. And that's a hard sell to the public to say, come watch this thing that somebody's doing that's great, that you've already seen before, and we all agree it's great, but it doesn't matter. And the second thing is, he's playing in Southern California, and we're East Coast guys. We don't watch it, right? It's not always watchable when they start at 10:30. So we don't see him all the time. We acknowledge he's great. There's no debate on if he's great or not. It just doesn't matter. I mean, there's no friction. Right? MTV built an entire empire on The Real World, which is putting a bunch of jerks in the same house and creating friction.
I love that show, by the way. I really did get hooked on it.
Of course you did, right? And that's the point. There's no friction here. Where's the friction with Ohtani? You're great, and what you do doesn't matter. You're great, your team stinks. We know it. Rinse, lather, repeat. I need some friction there. I need something, I need some controversy. I need some big moments. It's just tuning into, listen to the same great album over and over. I know what the songs are now, and I know I've heard it already.
He's Erik Kuselias, CBS Sports HQ. By the way, follow him on Twitter at FantasyEK if you are not doing so already. All right, buddy. I know you've been talking a lot about this with your boys over there at CBS. We got the Final Four revving up again tomorrow. FAU and San Diego State, UConn versus Miami, just like your bracket predicted at the very beginning of this thing. So I guess the question, and one of the topics we've said as we got to about the Elite Eight and now getting ready for the Final Four is, hey, this is great. Do we think that this is more of an aberration, or could this become more the norm with, the changing landscape in college basketball? How do you see it?
Well, first of all, I don't think it's great. I think this is the worst Final Four we've ever had. It's the worst Final Four of all time.
So you want the chalk?
Right? No, look, this is going to be, the public is going to agree. This is going to be the worst rated Final Four of all time, and it's not going to be close.
Wow.
Right? Everybody said, well, San Diego State FAU isn't going to draw flies comparatively to North Carolina and Duke last year. They're just not. I mean, I know everybody loves the little guy. Here's what you have to think about the tournament. I say this, and you and I have talked about this. The first weekend is about the little guy in the tournament.
That's exactly what
the second weekend is about the big guy. And then, all right, let's see what stud wins the national championship. Those are the most highly rated tournaments. I was in San Antonio when all four number ones made it. And it was UCLA, Kansas, Memphis, and Carolina. And I walked into the arena, and each of the four corners was decked out in that team's colors all the way back. And that was something. And I mean, you had Kevin Love and Russell Westbrook and Derrick Rose, and Kansas won the damn thing. And you had Kansas against Roy Williams, old there was the old girlfriend, now moved on and left and went back home to coach Carolina. That was drama. This is FAU San Diego State. I'm going to watch it because I love the Final Four and I'm into it, but it's not great. I mean, this is the worst one ever. Let's say it. Let's not lie about it. It's the worst Final Four ever. It's still great, but it's the worst. It's like pizza, right? Even when it's bad, it's still pretty good. It's the worst pizza ever, but it's still pizza. But this is not the best pizza you've ever had. Don't say it is.
For those of you who are who haven't heard Erik Kuselias on my shows in the past, he's the king of analogies too. Boom, you're nodding your head. Yeah.
Imagine having to live with it. My poor kids, they have to do this all the time. Every single thing they do gets analogized into something, right? You got a 90 on your test, and they gave you the questions in advance. Do you know what that's like? That's like da-da-da-da. And pretty soon they're just like, oh, God, not again. Please, anything, not again.
All right, so UConn is the heavy favorite. If not UConn, who do you think will be cutting down the nets?
I don't. One of the other three teams. I don't know. I mean, sure, why not?
Good answer. So it's UConn.
I mean, no. I'm just saying. Like, I think San Diego State and FAU is a coin flip game. I think it's going to be one of those tied with 5 minutes to go. Someone's going to make a big shot. One team will have a cold spell at the wrong time, and they'll go packing. I mean, when you say the NBA is a make or miss league, you've seen in this tournament, it's a make or miss tournament, right? Miami, in all of their wins, has basically gotten beat for 35 minutes and had one great 5-minute run. And they're in the Final Four, right? They got hot for 5 minutes here. The other team went cold for 5 minutes here. Look at Gonzaga against UConn. They couldn't throw it in the ocean for about 10 minutes, and the game's over. I mean, you can have a night where you shoot the ball, you make 5 extra threes or you miss 5 extra threes when you shoot 23 of them, and that's the difference. I mean, it's going to be close. It's going to come down here or there.
Okay, so
it's easier to bet totals now in college hoops.
At least they'll have that, though, because I was saying earlier in the show, because I think you're right. This isn't going to draw the ratings that, the Blue Bloods would, but the networks and the fans, I mean, everybody involved, you just can't have a lopsided affair because it's already like, oh, well, is this going to be – if it's a lopsided affair, either one of these games, man, that's going to be to me, that's going to be disaster for college basketball.
No, you'll get good games. I expect good games because San Diego State's going to play it so slowly, and FAU is that type of team that's going to run away and hide or get drilled. That's definitely going to be a good game. Miami, UConn. Miami has shown that even if they're down a little while, they'll come back. I expect that to be a good game. I do think Miami's going to go under their team total of 72. If you ask me for one play in the Final Four, that would be my play. Miami under 72.5. But other than that, I think they're both going to be good games. I mean, I would pick UConn. I think it'd be silly not to. They're about even money next to the rest of the field. But I mean, I wouldn't. There's no surprises anymore. And this could come out any way, and you can't be surprised.
All right, Eric. We'll stay with hoops. We'll go to the NBA hardwood, and we're nearing the end of the regular season, so of course, there's the great debate on who should be the MVP. Is it Jokic? Is it Giannis? Is it Joel Embiid? Maybe Embiid had it wrapped up, but man, he didn't play last go around against Jokic, and he had him the last time they played. He just abused him. So who is Erik Kuselias' NBA MVP?
It's not Embiid. It's not Embiid. I can't make it how can you tell me it's Embiid? His numbers are the worst of the three. His team is the worst of the three. His team is the worst seed of the worst of the three. And he hasn't played the most games. It's not Embiid. It's not Embiid. You can vote for Giannis, and I'll go, all right, I can see that. You can vote for the Joker, and I say, all right, I can see that. I don't see how you're voting for Embiid. His numbers are not better. His team is not as good as Giannis's. Joker's team is going to be the top seed in the West, and Joker's played the most games. Giannis and Embiid have played the same amount of games. Tell me why you're voting for Embiid.
Well, no. I'm not saying Embiid. I thought there was that thought that if Embiid didn't miss that last go round against Denver, there was that thought that if he has another game like he had against the Joker the first time or the last time they met up, that may just seal it for him. Because a lot of times it's how does this thing end, and does he end just on a roll, and that tends to make a difference. Here's my thing, and I love Jokic. Giannis is the best all-around player in the NBA. And I know, again, what we talk about narratives and storylines, well, that's boring, but Giannis, as far as two-way players, he's unquestionably, I think, the best out there. So in my mind, I put him number one on my ballot if I'm voting.
I have no problem with that. I have no problem if you're voting Giannis. I have no problem if you're voting Jokic. My take on the MVP is you can't put Embiid over either of those two guys. Those guys have had better years than Embiid. They have better numbers, and their teams are better. Simple. That's it. If you're voting for Embiid, you got ulterior motives, or it's a popularity contest. You're not doing it on the eye test, on numbers or stats or wins or losses. And last time I checked, all those things should at least count a little.
EK, I heard Chris Mannix of SI say the other day that he thinks the LA Lakers will win the Western Conference. And first blush, you go, wow, that's kind of crazy. But they're getting hot at the right time. Anthony Davis is actually playing well, and he's just playing, which is good. Some good role players around him. And he said he's not necessarily sold on some of the top teams right now in the West. Is that can you go along with that take on the LA Lakers, and how is that West going to shake out in your mind?
I think it's Phoenix and then everybody else. And somebody will pop up, and it could be the Lakers, right? If you told me the Lakers made a deeper run than expected because they didn't have to play Phoenix and they knocked out, Denver or Memphis, because, Denver's a regular season built team.
Yep.
Memphis is a little bit of a mess right now with John Morant, guys being injured and that kind of stuff. And, they got one of those, and they beat, the Clippers, who didn't have Paul George or Kawhi Leonard, whoever knows who's going to play out of those two guys. And next thing you know, the Lakers are in the, the Final Four of the NBA, the Western Conference Final against Phoenix. Yeah, but I do think, though, it's Phoenix and everybody else. They're just better. And now here comes Kevin Durant. It's going to be Kevin Durant, Booker, DeAndre Ayton, Chris Paul. If I'm shocked the price on Phoenix to win the West is so low. It's like plus 285. Sign me up. I have so much Phoenix and so many shares of Phoenix, not to win the title, just to win the West. I think they're the prohibitive favorite, and I got to see somebody beat them 4 times before I believe it.
All right, let's go over to the East. And, of course, a lot of good folks here in Northeast Ohio. Really excited about our Cleveland Cavaliers. The job that Kobe Altman has done, I mean, a few years ago, nobody saw this coming. You add Donovan Mitchell. They're a very good defensive team. Looks like it's going to be the Knicks in the first round. I'm not saying this with any bias. I think they should be able to handle the Knicks. How far can this Cavaliers team go in the Eastern Conference?
It is fascinating, and I love this because, look, I live in Connecticut, and I live in the shadow of New York City. And when I drive around all day, driving my kids to practice or picking them up from school or driving them to school or, I'm taxi service dad, I get sports talk radio from New York. They are so convinced that Cleveland is a speed bump. We're already figuring out who they're playing in the second round. And I don't get it. I'm telling you they are. I'm telling you, if you listen, they're like Cleveland, forget it. Okay, we're better than Cleveland. Like, we're beating Cleveland. Like, if anybody calls in and tries to say, watch out for Cleveland, they are laughed off the stage. Right? They assume you guys are DOA against them.
Wow.
They're like, we've beaten Boston every time. We want Boston in the second round. We want to match up with Boston. Milwaukee's not as good for us. Philly we can take care of, but we don't want Milwaukee in the second round after we dispatch of these, pretend Deliers. And I don't see it. By the way, I'm going to be very clear. That's not me.
Right. Yeah.
I keep shaking my head going, what are you morons seeing that you think that, like, Cleveland's this night off for you? But I'm telling you, they think they are so superior to you that you're not even in the discussion. How dare you even think you could beat the Knicks? But I'm with you. I actually think Cleveland could beat the Knicks, and then I think it's going to be a hard one. I think it'll be very hard for Cleveland to beat Boston or Milwaukee. But, that's why they play the games, right?
Okay. Are the Knicks fans or their hosts, are they – I mean, Julius Randle right now is pretty banged up. Am I right? Or
he's out a couple of weeks. He's out a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Yep. And that does make them a little nervous. And this was, to be fair, this has been about a month of this before the Randle injury. But it's been a solid month of, we're the Knicks. We're about to go on a run. Boston better watch out, because if we get them in the second round, we're going to beat them. And it's really like, we're better than Philly. We're every bit as good as Boston. Milwaukee's a little better than us, and nobody else matters in the East.
I absolutely love hearing this because wow, I did not realize it was that pronounced. I mean, I know from a fan standpoint, you get a little excited. Here's the thing I like about the Cavs. I mean, first of all, they play great defense. JB Bickerstaff, if you don't buy in that way, then hit the road. Now, experience, there's going to be, they've got a young team, but they've got guys that play together. You added Donovan Mitchell, a huge piece. Here's what I would say about the Knicks, and you tell me if I'm wrong. Julius Randle is a great player, but...
No, you're wrong. Julius Randle is a good player who's an inconsistent player who 2 years ago had an excellent year. Last year, they were booing him out of the Garden and couldn't wait to get rid of him. This year, he had a little bit of a resurgent year.
Well, Jalen Brunson makes him a great right, on a certain night make him a great player.
Jalen Brunson is the heart of that team. Yeah. Julius Randle is a good NBA player. He's not a great NBA player. I would just...
Fair enough. No, fair enough. I'll defer to you on that one. Here's what I would say then. Julius Randle, like late in crunch time, I'm picturing, because we've seen this with Randle. Late in crunch time, who's going to score the... This is where, like, Julius Randle feels he's going to take on Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, everybody for the Cavaliers, and I think that's going to be their kryptonite. I think Julius Randle's going to try to do too much, and you want him to try to do that because he's not great enough to be able to pull that off.
I would favor the Cavs over the Knicks in a 7-game series, and I'm telling you that nobody in the greater New York City area, that opinion is being laughed off the radio, and the hosts are the worst in terms of the Knicks are. There's 4 big teams in the East, and we're one of them, say the Knicks, and we're probably better than Philly. And even though Boston's better than us, we match up well against them, and we can take them because the Knicks have beaten Boston, I think, every game this year head-to-head.
All right, couple more things. Erik Kuselias, CBS Sports HQ. Always love talking to him. Follow him on Twitter at FantasyEK. Is Lamar Jackson going to going to be with the Baltimore Ravens this year? If not, who do you think he ends up with? Does he maybe hold out this year and just play nowhere?
No, he's got to play because there's nowhere for him to do. I mean, he's going to play for $32.4 million. He's going to play in the franchise tag. I mean, look, this is the beauty of merit, right? The Ravens said to him, go ahead. You think you're worth it? Go ahead. Go find someone who thinks it. And you know what? Crickets.
Yep.
Crickets. Nobody wants to give 2 first-round picks and $250 million guaranteed dollars to Lamar Jackson. I don't. Right?
Do you think Lamar Jackson's bluffing? Do you think at the end, like they okay, yeah, I just wanted to test it out. Well, let's hug it out and we'll be okay. It almost. No, I thought that initially.
Okay. You're Lamar Jackson. What are you going to do here? Okay, you said you wanted a trade, and they basically accommodated you. When they put the exclusive franchise tag on you, that is essentially allowing you to go seek your own trade. Go ahead. Go find someone that will give us 2 first-round picks for you, and you can go. And nobody wants to do it. He requested a trade, and they said, fine, go make your own trade, and nobody wants to pay the price. So what is he going to do? If you sit out, you don't get credit for the service time.
True, but right? I wonder if for him, he might – you're right. I mean, to me, that's the long shot. I threw that in there, but that's the long shot. But he might be thinking – because I know he was taken aback, and he didn't like the idea of people criticizing him, saying, well, he's not durable. But, EK, you know as well as I do, December, January – by the way, you were dead on about Kyler Murray every single time about being healthy when it matters. Now you're starting to fear that. Not always, but now you're starting to fear that. And certainly if I'm going to guarantee $250 million, I don't want to have any fear that guy's not going to be available in December and January.
Dude, you're not worth what you think you are. That's what I'd say Lamar Jackson. You're not worth what you're I have no problem. It's America, man. You want to try to get everything you can. God bless you. I'm a capitalist with a capital C. I don't like socialism. I'm not into it. Sorry. You can go be socialist. I'm going to stay here in America and be a capitalist. All right? God bless you. All right? I love America. Love it or leave it, baby. I got the big old flag. I am one of those guys. All right? So go ask for whatever you want. I'm okay with that. But somebody's got to give it to you. And nobody wants to give it to you right now. Nobody. If you could find one team to give up 2 first-round picks and meet your contract demand, you'd be there right now. Nobody wants that. So now you have to recalibrate. I mean, I'm sorry, but look, this is a guy that still is a little bit of prove it. Right? And he had the one great year where he was MVP. That wasn't yesterday anymore. And now he's shown an inaccuracy, a lack of durability, and he's kind of settled in as a good quarterback. He's a different kind of quarterback because he's so electric and exciting. But overall on the scale, he's a B-plus guy. He's not an A guy. He's not Josh Allen. He's not Mahomes. He's not Justin Herbert. He's not Joe Burrow. He's just not. You're in the next group down. You just are.
Are you tired of Aaron Rodgers already? Or is this just?
I'm what I'm tired of is, well,
left us hanging. Hopefully he's still there, EK. I did want to ask him about the Masters and the Live tour and all that. Well, did we lose him?
He's frozen.
He's frozen. He's frozen in time. See, much like we wanted to do with Ted Williams, this is exactly what we wanted to do with EK. I've been saying it for a while. His talent is so great that we need to freeze him, cryogenics, I think they call it, and then be able to bring him back 500 years from now. And he'll still be really good at what he does. If we lost him, we lost him. That's okay. He was stellar. But I did want to ask him about because he's a big golf guy too, and he has obviously worked for the Golf Channel, and he follows it very, very, very closely. Knows a lot of those guys. I know that the Masters is saying because it's Hootie John. Of course they're going to say like, well, no, there's not going to be any drama here. He's there. All right. It's EK. You back? Yeah, there he is.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We would love to freeze you for another but for purposes of this interview, we got to get through it. So, Aaron Rodgers, I said to you, are you tired of all the Aaron Rodgers soap opera? You said, I'm tired of, and then we lost you.
I'm tired of the idea that this is all the Packers' fault and that why are the Packers holding up this deal? Well, why are the Jets holding up this deal? If you want to win so badly, go give them what they want, right? You're screwing around because you don't want to give them an extra second round pick. You want to win or don't you? Right? Get the deal done. I think this is just everybody posturing and doing what's best for their franchise. And in the NFL, it's exciting to talk about. And the good news is, if you want to not talk about Aaron Rodgers, you don't have to. You can get away with it. We got so many other great things. So I'm not sick of Aaron Rodgers. He will be a Jet. Don't worry about it. He's going to happen. He will be a Jet, and then it's going to be very exciting.
Okay, last thing for you, and we'll cut you loose, and always appreciate you. But Masters is coming up. Two things. One, has all of this Live Tour and PGA, has it kind of quelled your interest a little bit for the Masters? And two, the Masters is saying, hey, there's not going to be any drama here. And not that I'm looking for, like, Happy Gilmore and Bob Barker rolling down a fairway, but is it going to be obvious that there are some cold shoulders and that some guys just don't like other guys, and there is this divide between the PGA and the Live?
How could that quell my interest? That piques my interest. I love that.
I knew you'd say that.
That's what I want to see. Guess what? I've covered golf for a long time. I used to scream and yell when we had this meeting. I say, the problem with golf is everybody golf claps for each other and everybody gets along. We just already talked about the real world. That it made a whole thing with idiots and drama. There's no drama in golf. There's no drama now. There's a reason to watch. How are they going to greet each other? Is anybody going to come to blows? What's that locker room? Put a camera in the locker room. Let me see it. Let me see the Live guys walk in, and let me have the PGA Tour guys give them bad looks, and have the Live guys go, oh, by the way, I now make 10 times what you make. Here's $1. Go park my car. I mean, I want to hear all that. It's going to be great.
You sounded like Rodney Dangerfield right
That's
there.
exactly it. What do you charge for big cars?
Is there, between the ropes, aside from God, I love you. Aside from the drama, between the ropes and the guys play, are you stoked for it? Like, are there
because if you here's what I want. On Sunday, I want 2 Live guys and 2 PGA Tour guys neck and neck, starting on the 10th tee. Here we go. Let's do it. And that's what I want. And I want high fives from those guys. And I want this. And everyone walking through each other's lines and marking, take too long to mark their ball, and looking at each other. And all we need now is a pitch clock in golf, and we can save that too.
Oh, this is why he is one of my favorites, no doubt about it. Erik Kuselias, CBS Sports HQ. Follow him on Twitter if you are not doing so already, at FantasyEK. Come football season, that will be a must follow. Trust me. EK, I love you, man. It's great seeing you, great hearing you, and thank you so much for joining me.
The new gig looks great, and really, just keep rolling. That is a studio and a half, baby. Go do it.
Love it. Thanks, EK. All right, good stuff there, and I told you, he's never shy about those opinions. Yeah, I think we're all hoping for it. Even if you're we keep hearing about baseball traditionalists. Even if you're a golf traditionalist, isn't there a part of you that does want to see or hear the drama? Like, a lot of times they're buttoned up and they're not going to take shots at somebody. Occasionally, we've had the, gosh, I'm blanking on his name. The big guy. You know who I'm talking about.
Golfer?
Yes.
John Daly.
No, not John Daly. Crying out loud.
Bryson DeChambeau,
and then the guy that was Brooks Koepka. Yeah, so Koepka, gosh, that took way too long to get out. The pitch clock just expired. Strike
it's a
3.
big guy. I could have sworn you were talking about John Daly.
Yeah, he is a big guy, but he's kind of irrelevant these days. But yeah, I think we want to see more of that. We like more of that. But from just a golf standpoint, like, I don't know, Scotty Scheffler's really good, and it just doesn't have that same pull. It doesn't have the same pull, in my mind. All right, I'll tell you what. We're going to break. When we come back, Knicks fans and New York talk show hosts are essentially saying the Cleveland Cavaliers are nothing but a speed bump, and they are looking forward to maybe the Boston Celtics in the second round. This is a podcast, right? So I don't want to abuse the privilege, but I'd love to make a certain gesture. But I won't do that. We'll talk about it. I want to hear from you. 216-626-7901. A speed bump? A speed bump. I think the Knicks are the speed bump. And I'm not saying that like, in retaliation for. The Knicks are just not that impressive to me. And Julius Randle is going to try to shoulder the load. Julius Randle is going to try to go 1-on-4 or 1-on-5, and they'll play right into the Cavs' hands. I don't think this will be much of a series. Screw you, New York. All right, we'll be back after this. The Chico Bormann Show here on the Big Play Network. Also find us on YouTube. Go to YouTube, type in the Chico Bormann Show, and if you're not already subscribing, just simply hit click subscription, subscriber, subscribe. I think is what the button says. Subscribe, not subscription. Also on Twitter at Chico Show CLE. 216-626-7901. You want to chime in? Should I be surprised that New York fans, but it's not just the New York fans, it's the hosts. Like, I know they're always pompous and they think their shit doesn't smell and all that stuff. And it gets old real fast. Okay. And it's one thing, and EK's right, because I've talked to him off the air. Like, he does listen to a lot of New York sports talk radio. It's one thing to think, hey, you know what, we'll beat the Cavaliers. It's another thing to just dismiss them. Like, we're already looking ahead. We want Boston? What? You guys aren't that good.
It's very on brand for the New York state of mind, Chico.
Like I said, I know they're high on their teams. I expect them to be, chest out, and we're New York. I mean, it's what they do with everything, okay? But the idea, like, I would hope that a host, now, not all of them, but, I try to be somewhat objective. Somewhat objective. If you're telling me their hosts are basically saying, oh, come on, what are you, Cleveland? What? Like, you obviously haven't watched them. And, I mean, from a defensive standpoint, they're much better than the Knicks. There is that question, yes, about it's okay. Now it's the postseason. And now, it's going to be turned up a notch. But it's going to be turned up a notch for the Knicks as well. Oh, man, I want to see Spida just go absolutely berserk on those clowns. I want to see Julius Randle. I want to see him get swatted into the fifth row by Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. Like, I can't. Ooh, wow.
Now, obviously, the playoffs are the playoffs, right? Every game is going to mean something. But do you think there's any more meaning to it for Donovan Mitchell, considering that he almost became a New York Knick, and it was rumored that he wanted to go to New York? And so now he winds up in Cleveland. You get the chance to face them in the first round of a playoff series. You think he's really going to put it on himself to try and deliver in this game, in this series?
Not just because of that. I don't even think that even go back to last year. Remember, Jalen Brunson was in Dallas, right? And I mean, essentially, and you had obviously Donovan Mitchell with Utah. Like, Jalen Brunson kind of got he did get the better of him. I mean, Mitchell still scored a little bit, but I mean, Brunson just he abused him. Brunson, I think, had a 50-point game. So from that standpoint, yes. Now, Mitchell is clearly the leader. The thing, and I know I said this a while ago, and I'm sure it'll be brought up again. I said basically, the one thing that I want to see from Donovan Mitchell in the postseason is crunch time. You are, without a doubt, the guy where everybody in the gym, everybody knows that you're getting the ball, and you still take care of business. Like, to me, that's the only thing left, really. Like, I want to see it. And I said that if there's a guy that I feel like the moment's not too big, and I don't feel the moment's too big for Donovan Mitchell, but I feel like, as crazy as this sounds, because he's only 22 years old, Evan Mobley doesn't get rattled. Evan Mobley is, talk about freaks and physical freak. This kid's a freak in terms of this is the NBA, and it's almost like he's back at USC, playing a Pac-12 game against the Huskies or something. Like, he just, and you have a lot of guys that can step up.
Yeah, and specifically with Mobley, I know that everyone knew coming out that he was going to be a defensive stud, but we're really starting to see him come into his own offensively as well.
Yeah.
Developing that jumper, even taking and making some in really clutch moments throughout the course of the season. And that's another thing that I love about this Cavs team. Now, I know I think most fans probably want the ball in the hands of either Donovan Mitchell or Darius Garland for the last shot of regulation. But one thing I like about this Cavs team is that they're not afraid to hand it off to someone else, and
right.
It has paid off. We saw Isaac Okoro knock down a game winner. We've seen Evan Mobley hit a few clutch shots in crucial moments, and I think that sort of unexpectedness to this team really is another element that makes them so special and dangerous.
Now, one of the things, when we say, okay, concerns, Karis LeVert has been playing very well of late. I mean, obviously, they're going to need Karis LeVert is, and not just offensively. I think too many times we look at, oh, wow, that guy's playing great off the bench, and he's obviously, putting points on the board. He's been playing stellar defense. Rubio, Dean Wade's kind of been lost. I mean, that's one. They really thought that Kevin Love, and I understood the Kevin Love move. I'm not going to go hindsight here, but Dean Wade, they thought was going to step up, and it's not there.
You'd still take him over K-Love, though.
Right now?
I think, obviously, factoring in what you could expect out of him, but I don't expect him to be playing at his absolute worst come playoff time.
Dean Wade?
Yeah.
Why would you expect him to be playing better?
Because I think we've seen it from him, and I think that...
No, but, I mean, this is the postseason we're talking about.
Yeah,
see that he's a guy. If he's kind of turtled after the trade, we're like, wow, pressure's on me. I don't think the postseason's gonna. I mean, I hope it does. I hope you're right. But I'm not looking at Dean Wade going, oh yeah, come. And I don't even know if JB's really gonna give him a second look. Like once and that's what happened with Kevin Love. Like everybody wants to make it personal. JB, I'm sure, loves Kevin Love. Everybody here in Cleveland loves Kevin Love. He's, for what he's done, and he's still a good player. But keep in mind, when the deal was made, he was still battling back from the wrist injury. He was not shooting the ball well. He even admitted that. And then, okay, no big revelation here. The guy's a liability on defense. So it was like JB was telling him, like, Kev, we're not going to be playing you a lot because, if you're going to hurt us on defense, well, we can live with that if you're going to be knocking down threes and doing all the other things that you do. But if we're not going to get that, then you're just a liability. And they thought that Dean Wade and Dean Wade just kind of disappeared. But you're getting some contributions, from the guys on the bench. They're gonna absolutely have to have that. I mean, come playoff time anyway, though. That's why JB wanted to get these guys more minutes. Like when Jared Allen went down, you remember him saying, like, I want to get these guys close to, as many minutes as I can because they're going to be playing a lot in the postseason. So, I mean, that is a concern. But the Knicks thing, oh, man. And you know what? Julius Randle, and I didn't mind Julius Randle at Kentucky. I didn't mind Julius Randle with the Lakers. But he's a guy... man, I called him great because I do think he can be. I mean, he's had great moments, like he 57-point night. But I'm being serious here. Late in the game, it's all on the line. Jalen Brunson, if he gives it up to Julius Randle, he's not seeing that ball back. That's a black hole. Julius Randle is gonna take everybody on, and I think that's gonna be his biggest flaw, their biggest flaw.
He plays like he thinks he's a superstar amongst superstars.
Right.
And in some ways you have to appreciate and respect that fearlessness from him and that confidence. But he doesn't warrant it. He doesn't warrant that level of taking on anyone at any time whenever he so chooses.
Boom, did you say we have some YouTube comments over there?
Yeah, actually, as a matter of fact, and don't forget, you can stream us on YouTube, The Chico Bormann Show. You can comment, and we'll shout you out. But we did have some comments coming in. Someone was asking you, Russ is asking you, Chico, how's your bracket doing?
We don't ask that anymore, especially this year. Awful. I had Texas winning it all, and I thought, well, I mean, how many? I think I saw where like 200 million. No, is that right? 2 million maybe brackets, and that only like 20 people had the Final Four, or maybe even less than that. Like, how do you come up with that? That's the random, like I said, the person at work who fills out a bracket. I stand by it. It's time tested. That if you fill out a bracket based on your friends or where their kids are going to school or where you recently went to vacation or, God, that mascot's so cute, or, wow, red's my favorite color, you've got a better chance. And I mean, sometimes it feels like a much, much better chance than the clown who's like just pouring over the strengths and weaknesses and, what could go right, what could go wrong, how could they win it all, how could they be ousted in the first round. Don't want to be that guy. What else we got?
All right, Chico. So another comment came in talking to Little Cav. Shout out to the Gray Rat. Aren't all rats gray? Anyways, he says Mobley.
I love how very innocent curiosity there, Bum. You're like, aren't all rats gray?
I'm sure there's albino rats out there somewhere.
No, that would absolutely be.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely be albino rats. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, Thank you for chiming in, the Gray Rat 30. And he's commenting, Mobley is the guy I want with the ball if we need a 2-point bucket.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of taken to task when I said, I'd be good with either Donovan Mitchell or Evan Mobley. But and look, Mitchell would probably get the nod in that situation. And I love Donovan Mitchell. I guess it was more about me really wanting to drive home the point that Evan Mobley, and think about this. Let's go back a little bit. Like 2 months into the season, 3 months into the season, there were people lining up, like criticizing the hell out of Evan Mobley. Like, oh, he's not good. He hasn't taken that next step. Oh, man, everybody that was so great, big on him and high on him. And now you see it he's 22. I mean, he's a pup. And then you see him do exactly that and take that next step. And I think you're going to see him dominate in the postseason. I really do. Like, he has that fact. He has that innate ability. It's kind of like Tim Duncan almost, where like you're not fazed by anything. Now, it's one thing if you're a 15-year vet, but Evan Mobley, that's kind of what makes Evan Mobley Evan Mobley. I just don't think he's fazed. And yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with, let's draw up a play. Maybe they're going to be looking for Donovan Mitchell. I'd have every confidence in the world that Evan Mobley would knock it down. I really do.
I think if Evan Mobley is going to take a shot in crunch time, you can have faith that it's probably a good look. I think he's a smart player.
Yep.
And he plays intuitively on the floor, and I think you can tell that. And so when he's taking those shots in late minutes, it doesn't ever look like a bad shot. And I think that there's a lot to be trusted about a player like that on your roster, even if you might hope that it's Donovan Mitchell or Darius Garland taking that last heave.
All right, 216-626-7901 in the home stretch here on the Chico Bormann Show on the Big Play Network and on YouTube and on Twitter. You can find us, so hopefully you're going to be chiming in on that. I did want to go back to baseball for a moment because the Guardians are back in action tonight against the Seattle Mariners, Robbie Ray against Hunter Gaddis. And I know, look, last night left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. It's always, that's why, when it gets down to the bullpen, either it's a W and it feels like 2 wins, or you lose it the way they lost it, and Ty France hitting that 3-run bomb off a melted down James Karinchak, I should say. Maybe if he went by Jim, he would be calmer. I don't know. And James Karinchak is very talented. I don't want to sound like but like last night, he's got an incredible curveball. He went away from the curveball. They knew he couldn't get the curveball over for strikes. He wasn't getting anything over for strikes. They were sitting dead red on that fastball. And even that, I mean, he hits Colton Wong, and he's, throw to the backstop, and that's after the challenge that, or not even a challenge. It wasn't allowed to be challenged, the foul tip. I do think that, and this is, keep in mind, this is a tough stretch because you don't have Tristan McKenzie, who could be out as much as 2 months. Tito himself said it. We can't expect, it'd be totally unreasonable for us to expect Hunter Gaddis to just step in, but hopefully we can cobble this together and get a W. I think they can get to Robbie Ray. I don't think they see George Kirby in this series. I think the Mariners decided that they're not going to limit his innings, but they're going to try to take proactive measures in making sure that they at least monitor him early in the year. And if that means making him the 5th or 6th guy in the rotation, then that's what they're going to do. So I think they've got Robbie Ray tonight. I'm trying to think. Logan Gilbert, I think, would probably be on Sunday. And then Marco Gonzalez. I thought that they would easily go George Kirby on Sunday, but they're not. They're going to go with Gonzalez. Now, what's so funny, Bohm? What do you got going on?
No, we just we got another comment that came in from our gray ratted friend. He's asking He wants to know if the Guardians ever went over after Castillo at all last year before the trade deadline.
No. Because he knew you're going to have to, you're going to pay him. And they didn't need to. He might be saying that now, he or she might be saying that now because Tristan McKenzie's out, but you're not. No, I'm not saying the last thing you need. Who couldn't use a guy like Luis Castillo? Now, Castillo had his ups and downs in Cincinnati. I think Seattle is going to be perfect for him. He's on a winning team. He's got a great bullpen behind him, great defense behind him too, but an exceptional bullpen. But Guardians wouldn't have been looking at Luis Castillo last year, and they shouldn't have been because you have depth in your organization. It's not like anybody could see Tristan McKenzie going down. Which, speaking of that, I heard the funniest. So we're talking about Aaron Rodgers earlier, right? I'm listening to, I think it might have been Max Kellerman, and I think it was Keyshawn and Jay Will, whatever. And Keyshawn always seems like he's disagreeing with he just wants to disagree with everybody. And you can see it because he gets that scrunched up face. People that have seen, it's kind of that, oh, man. So Max Kellerman, a couple of weeks ago, brought up the fact that I believe he said something along the lines of, man, if the Packers knew what they know now, and keep that in mind, again, let me repeat that. If they knew what they know now, they would have unloaded him last year because, he obviously didn't want to be there and kind of played as such. And then this year, he's thinking about retiring. So they would have easily, moved on from him. And Keyshawn got all up in arms. He's like, man, Max, that's hindsight. That is hindsight. Hindsight is 2020. Max is like, Key, I said, if they knew now what they knew then they would, they probably trade it. Yeah, that's the definition of it. I already prefaced that. But that's hindsight. And it was like he was like just yelling at him. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So, all right, we've got a big weekend on tap. We've got the Final Four, FAU and San Diego State. Erik Kuselias says it will be the lowest rated Final Four in the history of college basketball. Might he be right? Florida, FAU and San Diego State, I'm excited to see it. I love watching San Diego State and, for that matter, FAU. I just don't know if FAU, San Diego State, I think can because they're not the best offensive club either. But, I think they'll be able to manufacture stuff off their defense. I don't know if FAU's able to do that. So I like San Diego State. I like UConn. I think you've got to like UConn to win it all. I think the spread tonight, our boys at Tipico, I believe, have it at 5.5. And I love Jimmy Larinaga, but 5.5, that seems a bit small.
That's a tight spread, Chico.
Yeah. UConn just seems that much better. They're bludgeoning opponents. We're talking 15 points plus bludgeoning. So, I don't know. We shall see. But it is going to be a fun weekend. Want to say thank you to Erik Kuselias with CBS Sports HQ. Boy, did he bring it. Absolutely. And, of course, check those out. You'll be able to see him and hear him on our reels, on our shorts. I don't really know exactly, but I just know that our social team knows how to get those out.
It's going to happen.
And if you folks get to the YouTube thing and type in the Chico Bormann Show, you'll be able to get it as well. Also be able to get it on Twitter. Now, that's one place that I am familiar with, and I do retweet. So, yeah, we've got all kinds of good stuff, and you can go to bigplay.com. It's all there as well. All right, so thanks to EK. Big weekend coming up. Hopefully the Tribe are going to get it done. Cavs in action tonight against the Knicks. Well, the Knicks probably don't even have to show up. Why are they even here? This is a sneak preview. Whatever. Knicks, man, they're just going to roll. That really kind of, it shouldn't have struck a nerve, Bone, but it struck a nerve.
It's a microcosm of the New York state of mind.
I mean, you're right, it is.
I was, last time I was driving through New York, and I was listening to Hot 97 Funkmaster Flex, right? And he just shouts over the radio.
One more time?
You know Funkmaster Flex, the DJ?
No.
Famous DJ? Oh, okay. You've probably heard his voice before, but Hot 97 is a popular radio station out in New York, and he just shouts out what I feel like is just so symbolic of New York in a nutshell. He's like, if you're not from New York, we don't care about you. How's that for radio?
Well, Hot Funk Master, whatever he is. Yeah, that's pretty. I can't believe the hosts actually don't even try to be somewhat objective. Like, now, if the Cavs were just, they got lucky, got in, and the Knicks were a juggernaut, okay, fine. But they know damn well, they should anyway, if they're professionals watching games. They know damn well. To look at the Cavs as a speed bump, my God, that series can't get here fast enough now. I mean, it can't get here fast enough.
Yeah, it's insulting.
Yeah.
Hopefully, surely the Cavaliers don't need bulletin board material, but if ever there is any, just show them what the fans think of them.
Absolutely. All right, so go Guards, go Cavs. Enjoy your Final Four. Enjoy whatever is on your docket this weekend. Be safe. The weather could be a little iffy, so if you got to stay in, maybe cuddle up and watch a little Final Four, that's not a bad idea either. I'll be back with you again on Monday. We're going to be recapping the Final Four and getting you set for the national championship game between, well, we'll find out, but we will talk about it on Monday with Vin Parisi of Fox Sports. Until then, for Michael Bohm, Nick Padone, my take, Dancing Dave McAllister and his long 425-yard drives, I'm like Chico Bormann. The Chico Bormann Show returns on Monday at 1 o'clock. Until then, make it a great weekend, everybody.